Welcome back, Warcoders. Bayou Boogie here, and today we're going to talk about barcodes and how do they work in Warcodes. So the first thing we need when we're looking for barcodes is we'll need our scanner and we'll need some barcode websites. So there are dozens of barcode websites available online, and if you go to the Warcodes Beginner's Guide at warcodes.fandom.com, you can find the beginner's guide where we have brought together a bunch of barcode websites for you to use. I'm only going to highlight three of them here for specific purposes. The first one that's very popular in the community is Upsite MDB. The reason Upsite MDB is so popular is, first off, it has a great number of barcodes, and it also gives them to you in a format that's very easy to scan quickly with your phone. So let's say we wanted a fire monster with metal attack or vice versa. So I search for fire and steel. What we get here is a list of barcodes. We can scan them real quick and easy with our phone and spawn in succession looking for that perfect monster. One of the limitations is you only get 3 pages of this. Obviously, there's more than 3 pages worth of barcodes that have fire and steel in the title. You would just have to continue to add other terminology to keep getting more barcodes. Another neat feature here is you can come up and switch from products to books. So now, if we're searching books, we can get fire and steel books and a whole nother 3 pages of barcodes to scan looking for that fire monster that resists metal. Another website I like is barcodelookup.com. This website is really good for more obscure products that might not show up on Upsite. So the same thing, we're just going to type in fire and steel. Now, the downside to this one is it doesn't give you a nice, easy list of barcodes to scan. You have to go into each item to get its barcode. However, it is not limited to 3 pages per search result. You can get hundreds of pages depending on your search result and just keep on searching for days looking for that perfect monster. So Upsite's usually my first go-to, followed by Barcode Lookup to get a little more specific. My third website is the little-known barcode.monster. I use this website for one particular reason, and that is mass scanning barcodes for either tokens or items. The best way to use Barcode Monster, you click on the menu here, you go to the directory for EAN 13 by country, select USA and Canada. It takes just a moment to load. Now we have a page full of barcodes to scan. This number up here corresponds to the beginning digits of the barcodes. So for barcodes that begin with 0, we have, I don't know how many barcodes there, but it's close to 50 per page. And there are hundreds of pages of these. And you can just keep scanning over and over. Now, with the scanner degradation, you're going to run out of token and item generation fairly quickly. But if you keep this up, once it recharges, just jump over, scan another 20 to 30 tokens real quick, and move on. So those are my 3 favorite barcode websites to use. The next thing we're going to look at is what data is used when our scanner looks at a barcode. And for that information, I'm going to use a couple of items here on the fandom. So the first is, I can't get the image to come up right. The first is this image here. This is from a barcode that's got a dragon and fairy, and it's just very consistent at spawning a skeletal dragon with a fairy just about every time. And when you look here, a lot of people think that the image can affect your monster that it creates, but that's completely false. AI is a computer program, so it's only able to read computer language, ones and zeros, etc. It can't see like we do. So what it's using is it's using the title here and then the description that follows that. Now, there is one other piece to the puzzle. It can read metadata or alt data that describes the image. So if you ever were to load a website and you see a description of the image that is supposed to be in a spot when it won't load, that data can be grabbed for it, but we don't necessarily see that from this side. So if you get a barcode that has a good description and a good title, you're going to get a lot more consistent spawns than a barcode that just has a couple of numbers and whatnot. On the other side, there are occasionally barcodes like this one to the right that don't show anything. They could be shown in a language that the scanner or the barcode portion of the program or API does not display, but it could still be there and the scanner can read it in the background, kind of like that alt data. So when you're hunting barcodes, again, the more data here, the better it's going to give you your monster, especially if it describes the picture. So, you know, if this says Mario and the description is plumber, that's pretty open to interpretation. If this says Super Mario Brothers plumber jumping out of tube, the plumber wears a red hat and blue overalls and likes flowers, obviously you're going to get something a little more specific from that data. What the AI then does is it uses this data to create prompts. I have a couple of examples here. So this is a prompt from the old user interface, but you'll see that this monster's name was Whispering Frost, and here's the physical description. This is how long the prompt behind each of your monsters is. It begins right here, and it goes all the way to here. So this big chunk of stuff here describes that monster, and every one of your monsters has a big chunk of data describing it just like that. All right. So beyond that, we're going to get into what are some good search terms to use when hunting monsters. Well, first off, you can go for search terms that describe the elements you're after. With us searching for fire and steel, we're going to try to do a real-time screenshot with this bad boy. So we scan this book, Fire and Steel, and it gives us a synopsis about it. Boy, that's a lot of data there. We're going to activate this barcode and spawn a monster. Now, because both fire and steel are in the title, there's a very good chance this monster will have both of those as either a resistance or an attack. We got half of it. We got a fire attack with a earth resistance. So let's go ahead and give her another chance here. All right, reactivate that barcode again. And usually when I'm hunting for a specific elemental combination, I will scan most codes 2 to 3 times at the minimum, perhaps up to 10 times, just depending on how many tokens available. So this one we did get that metal attack. Gave us fire as the weakness this time, but that just kind of goes to show that you can search for things like that. The other idea behind it is you can search for things to affect the type of monster you get. If you're looking for titans to build up your army of 1/1/1s, you could search for Mountain of Fire and Steel. Well, we didn't get anything there, did we? We'll just try Fire Mountain. All right, so we got some books about fire mountains. Let's see if we can get a titan out of this one. So these are sometimes we can use our search terms to determine not only our attack and resistance, but also the style of monster we want, as well as images. Obviously, this was a poor example since I got a Slayer style monster that's a 3/3/3. Well, they can't all be winners. But the idea is solid. And the last thing I was going to talk about as far as barcodes go is using those rescans. Like I said, I tend to scan the same code multiple times, especially if I like what I get. So this particular code I scanned 4 times, because I liked this first image I got. I thought it had a lot of potential, but I wanted to see maybe what else I could get. And in doing so, you can find out this code seems to be pretty consistent about giving you a magic attacker. We got a little anomaly there. Pretty wide range of resistance, but it's usually weak to dark. So the more times you scan a code, the more you'll be able to see, is it consistent or is it just a random throwing together of different stats and abilities. So hopefully you guys learned a little bit about how barcodes work in the Warcodes game. It'll help you up your game as far as scanning and finding new monsters. So feel free to share in the comments what kind of cool stuff you have if you have any questions. And like always, we will see you in the swamp.